Welcome to Boys and Brunch, the show where we expose everything going down on the timeline. Uh, this week, we are getting into some very interesting topics, and I hope you guys are ready because I don't even know if I am, but we'll see. Today, we're talking about the Noah's Ark reunion, the idea of fit privilege. And we've also just included a new topic that we think we're going to touch on quickly, which is fleeting regularly. And if you don't know what that is, we will get into that in a minute.
Lord have the mercy.
Really?
I almost spit my wine out, Lord.
And then we're going to, hopefully after fleeting, we will find some Jesus in Greenleaf talk. Because we will need it. And then finally, we will get into the entanglement between Jada and August, yet again, after her most recent Red Table talk. Mm-hmm. So I'm Jarrod D. King, and I'm joined by co-hosts Brandon Harris-Williams and Marcus Haynes. Hello, guys. How you doing?
Hola.
Good. So we had a brief chat just a moment ago before we went live, and I think, Brandon, you're the only one with an actual drink today, which
I am. Although some people will call it like juice. It's Stella Rose, the black.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
That's juice to some people.
I mean, hey,
your tolerance level.
It's better than just coffee.
Yeah. It kind of is juice, but it's better than
So how's everybody's week going? Any interesting stories to share before we jump in?
I was in a Zoom party on Friday, somebody's birthday party, which is part of the reason why I have no more alcohol left in my house.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So that was really fun.
I didn't remember you tweeting about that.
Yes.
Honestly, I don't have anything good. I'm trying to move, and that's just been a whole hassle. And places say they got something ready. I paid my fee, then they say, "Oh, actually, we don't." So now I need my refund, and they got to mail your refund back to you. So it's just a lot of chaotic,
Oh, goodness. Yeah.
So hopefully it works out.
Sounds stressful, especially during the COVID-19 thing. Yeah, that has.
And then your move out date is kind of looming over you a little bit. It's like, oh, this kind of needs to happen soon.
All right. Best of luck with that.
Yes,
Thank you.
Best of luck, Brandon. I actually had to move back into my parents' house a couple months ago. So just trying to get some things together for the next step in my life. So, but it wasn't anywhere near as as stressful as what it sounds like you're going through right now, Brandon. So,
thank you.
Thoughts and prayers.
Thoughts and prayers.
Yeah. So to the viewers, if at any point you hear something that you like, please heart it up on the live stream or give us a like if you're watching this on YouTube or wherever. I will be watching the comments to try to interact with you guys a little bit more. I don't know if I did a great job last time, but I'm trying. It's hard to kind of keep my eyes on like 3 different screens, but but please, comment and let us know what you're thinking during our conversation. And let's jump into this. Noah's Ark was a hit TV show on Logo that followed the lives and relationships of 4 friends as they navigated the gay dating scene in LA. Because it centered Black gay men, it had such a huge impact on our community and how we see ourselves. This past week, all of our friends from Noah's Ark came back for a reunion episode, and it was filmed almost entirely with webcams or with a webcam motif because it was taking place during the COVID-19 pandemic. So I want to jump into this. I want to ask you guys what your thoughts on the Noah's Ark series overall. Like, what did Noah's Ark mean for you first? So let's go with Brandon. I know he's the film guy in the room, so let's go with that.
The film guy.
Okay, no pressure, right? We can be way more critical, but no. I think Noah's Ark, the series, definitely was the first time I'm sure with a lot of other people saw ourselves, especially on television. I think that it also too is sadly been the only way that we've seen ourselves on TV. I think that, like, in terms of representation, in terms of a show centered around gay or queer Black men, there hasn't been anything else. I think Pose is probably the only other thing, and that was almost 15 or whatever years later. But even Pose, I think the center of the focus is the women, which isn't a bad thing. It just is that it still isn't the exact same group of people that is the focus on both shows. Um, I enjoyed it. Loved it. I think over the years I maybe have gotten a bit more critical on maybe the writing or certain things, but I'll always be respectful of it in the sense of like it is nostalgic. It is the first. It is still the only. So I definitely think it's been very impactful in that way.
Yeah, Marcus, what about you? How do you feel about what did the series mean to you when you first saw it?
Well, I first got introduced to Noah's Ark in college. So for me, this was during a time when I was really trying to find myself. I was like trying to absorb every gay piece of media I could because this was a way for me to start to really kind of discover, who I was. I remember the first thing I ever saw was, the very first episode and just kind of like watching it. I think my best friend at the time had it on like iTunes, had like the whole series downloaded. So just binging it, just watching and just loving like everything that I saw because it really kind of was a gateway for me into seeing my full self, that self that I was really starting to learn about during that time. Um, More or less, I think I pretty much completely agree with you, Brandon, that like I will always respect what it is. I will always respect the foundation that it laid, and I will always give it respect for what it did for me personally. I think that now that, with older eyes, having seen more stuff, having seen, things in the 15 plus years, since it's been out, um, I can look back and be like, I don't necessarily know if I want to make that writing choice, or I don't know if that was conveyed the best way it could be, but I don't think that necessarily takes away from what it did for us, as a
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think when we talked about it last week, I had mentioned that I've only seen bits and pieces, and
Mhm.
that was I don't know if that's completely accurate because looking on the reunion episode where they were showing a bunch of the clips and stuff, I think I've seen a majority of the original series. I don't think I
Mm-hmm.
saw every single episode in succession, but I do remember watching it and just remember being just so drawn in because there really was nothing else on TV that was like it. There really was nothing else that was really showing. I guess the different aspects of the Black gay community. I think that was very important. We can talk about its some of the criticisms that we have of it. I think on some level it was a little campy, but I mean I think that's part of the charm of the show as well.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so yeah, I mean I give it its kudos for being what it was. And I don't think it really tried to be anything other than a lighthearted kind of show. And I
Yeah.
appreciate that because we need those. We need the heavy stuff,
Exactly.
we need the light stuff. And I can't tell you how often I go through Netflix looking for something LGBT related that isn't light, that isn't light. Like not every time I don't want to have to go and put on my thinking cap for everything that I watch. And I've basically, I don't know, I think I've exhausted all of the lighthearted choices of the gay stuff that's up on Netflix.
Right.
So, and now moving into the reunion episode, I do think that this was definitely, it was almost like a family reunion, right? All of the viewers and all the cast members were back together, and they had it was another silly kind of episode, but it was fun, and it was fun to see everybody again. What stood out for you with the reunion episode? Let's go with Brandon again. Let's do the same order.
Okay. I think I knew it would be during COVID because it was called the COVID Chronicles or Pandemic Chronicles.
Yeah,
I can't
something like
remember what the
that.
subtitle was. But I didn't realize that they would all be on webcam the whole time, or that they wouldn't be together. So that was interesting to me, and it took me a minute to like settle into that because it was a bit, I think, jarring or whatever. At first, I was like, "Oh, we'll get to see the whole gang like literally together in the same room." I was like, "No, they're just on webcam." So, or FaceTime or whatever they were doing. So, I think it stood out to me the most because I was not expecting that. But it was still, like we said, very good to see everybody together. I think that they were trying to be very, very topical to the times. Oh, and the part with Titus Burgess, that was my
Yes.
favorite part.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was cool. That was cool.
Yeah. I kind of have like two answers for that. Like my serious answer, there's the Titus Burgess moment because I think I tweeted, I was like, I feel like that was Titus himself actually talking to Rodney Chester, like talking about the character and not just what it was for universe of like a brother talking to his brother. That was him actually saying, thank you for helping me to be me. So that really stuck out to me. That's, I guess, my serious answer. Not a serious answer. Ricky's Gallery of Men. Yeah, that.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, of course we're going to talk about that because that scene, it just like, you thought it was going to be one thing and then it just kept
It
going.
kept going. And I said,
and going.
And it just, I mean, and like all the twerking.
Yes,
I
we're
was
here
just
for all
like,
of that.
what in the world? So yeah, that was surprising. That was surprising.
Was enjoyable.
It was enjoyable.
Yes.
I mean, it was enjoyable, and it was also like, a clutch your pearls moment because you just didn't expect it. Oh my gosh! And it was funny because it's like, you recognize most of. I recognize some of the people, and yeah, they were recognizable faces.
It was your eyes, though. It was your eyes. I'm sorry.
So yeah, that was very interesting. Wait, and I think somebody I follow had. Well, no, it was in a different. It was in a different cup. It was in like the preamble to the show that they were talking about the show. So never mind.
Oh, the tribute part.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah, and somebody's saying on the comments, dude with the flowers had me dying. Yes, the guy who was sitting back. He had and he was a mess. So I thought that was hilarious. But so I definitely agree. Now, one question I saw a lot of people, asking for a reboot. Do you think that they should come back with a reboot? Do you think that that's something they should do?
Me again? I gotta go first.
Whoever wants to jump in. I mean,
I got you, Brandon.
Okay. Go.
I don't necessarily know that we need one. Like I was talking about this with my best friend after we watched it, and it was like I would much rather have, either a show maybe in the same universe, like with some new characters, or just like a completely different show just altogether. Because I feel like when especially it kind of became really clear when we saw kind of like that, what's the thing called? That like recap. Their stories are kind of complete. We saw the start, middle, end, restart, and end again of Noah and Wade's relationship. Like we've seen these characters grow, and even with this reunion episode, we've seen enough to like, okay, they're going to be all right. They are cementing themselves in their lives. I don't know that we necessarily need to see more of that. Like, do we need more like Black gay television in general? Yes, most definitely. But I don't think it necessarily needs to be Noah's Ark, if that makes sense.
Exactly. Yeah, and I would love to see the cast doing other things. Absolutely, in that vein, Black gay content or whatever. But I don't like you said. I think the story is complete, and I also think too sometimes a reunion episode is a lot stronger because you can really live off of that nostalgia. You can live off of the catch me up that you can't necessarily maintain with the new season or whatever. So I think even with like a Will and Grace, for example, it came back. Everybody was like really excited. I think the first season, but then they did 2 additional seasons. It's kind of like, okay, like we, I think they did their other finale. It's like, okay, well, we're not all excited anymore because you did your real series finale however many years ago, Right. So I think you lose some of that excitement if you continue it for too long.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that always happens. Like, you get people who are constantly looking for that a reboot of something, and it doesn't always pan out the way that you want it. and I think sometimes just leaving things as they are, as perfect as they are, is a good thing. And I would agree with you, Marcus, that I think possibly doing something in the same universe, or have Noah be like a mentor to somebody coming up in the film industry and riffing off of that thing,
Yeah.
like a spin-off kind of thing. I think that would
Yeah.
be interesting.
Yeah.
I don't think that we necessarily need a full reboot to see the same cast members go through different things. I don't know if that's necessary because I don't want them to then ruin the legacy of the show.
Mhm.
That can happen.
So I guess my last question on this topic would be, why have we not gotten any more shows like this? Why can't we get any more shows that center Black gay men as the main characters? That isn't a tragic story.
Ooh, that's a
Um,
ultimately a question.
it probably isn't for lack of trying. It probably is that whole thing of like, we always hear they say we have to prove that the audience is there. You have to prove that people want to watch this. I think too, you have to. I think not only do you have to prove that, but you also have to have somebody probably white who's big and behind, like backing your project as well. Like the Post, for example, is about the ballroom community, which is majority, minorities or whatever, people of color. But Ryan Murphy is the main producer behind it. So it's like it took him to attach himself with that. Or even with like a Girlfriends, for example, is about Black women, but Kelsey Grammer Frazier is the producer behind that. So I think that I think until it is maybe something that is like a huge hit that you cannot deny, it takes a lot of the probably trying or a lot of that backing from people outside of the community. I also think too, though, for a long time, just television in general, kind of between, I guess, Noah's Ark and Pose, there hasn't been that much Black content in general. I think in the past few years, we've seen more, but there was a stretch where there wasn't much at all.
That's true.
Yeah. I agree with that. Like, yeah. It's really a question of, people being willing to invest in kind of like seeing that. And I think a lot of people still, even with Pose, doing what it is right now, I think a lot of people still don't really see the worth of investing in some content, which is why nowadays, the especially Black gay content that we see is now in like streaming. It's web series and things of that sort, because these are people who can just put together a script and find some friends, start filming, and go from there. But as far as like on like, I guess, mainstream television, you really have to have people who are willing to invest in it and to say like, even if this doesn't pan out the way that I necessarily want it to, I'm still going to put some weight behind it.
Exactly. And I think I'll kind of piggyback off of that just real quick. I think a lot of web content, especially Black gay web content, has been different iterations or different versions of trying to live up to Noah's Ark or kind of do that. So, they've given us that representation. So we don't want to, I guess, discount those, but yeah. So they definitely have filled that gap where TV was lacking.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I saw a comment here. It said, Patrick should maybe collab with somebody younger and maybe come up with something new. I think that would be an interesting idea. I think, and if we can bring somebody else up, I think this conversation kind of veers into the allyship conversation, where it's like you kind of have to help some other people along if you have the power to do so.
Yeah.
So okay, I think that's a good place. I think that's a good place to end. I did have another thought, but I forgot it. So we're gonna move on.
That happens. It's okay.
Yeah.
So our people on Twitter. So we have these two topics that I think we're just gonna lightly touch on real quick. So there's this idea of fit privilege that caused a little bit of a kerfuffle on Twitter yesterday.
Kerfuffle.
It's a bit of a drama, a dust up, if you will.
Come on, definition.
Yeah.
Right. This is a whole thesaurus over here.
Right. He reads and he writes.
Yes. So basically, I don't know where this argument kind of originated. So it was a little bit hard to like research, the origins of this topic,
Mm-hmm.
but the responses were basically come to the question of, is there fit privilege? And I don't know, I guess I want to pose that question to you guys. Is there such a thing as fit privilege?
I saw a few of the tweets, but I saw them prior to us saying we were going to do this, so I didn't pay them much attention. And then I forgot to go back and look. I think if fit privilege is supposed to mean pretty privilege, you know what I'm saying, kind of in that same vein, then absolutely it exists. But I don't know for certain what they were arguing about.
Yeah. Pretty much that.
I mean, I think it's basically, you know, I think it's basically what you said, Brand. I think it's like a very short answer. It's like, yes, there are privileges that come with being fit, but I think the breakdown in communication between people on Twitter was that people were coming at it from different angles. I think some people were making the argument that, you know, not everybody has the access to go into the gym or gym membership and all that stuff, and that is a privilege. And I think that that's two different arguments.
It is.
But see,
I mean, yes, everybody does not have, I guess, I did see a tweet like that. I was like, maybe everybody doesn't have like an hour extra a day to go to the gym or do whatever. And that is true. I mean, I feel like you could always do stuff at home.
Right.
Now, of course, you won't get maybe the exact same results at home. I think it's only a certain extent of a home workout you can do versus going to the gym for most people, probably. But I don't, like you said, I don't know if that's the same.
Yeah.
I think access to a gym, you know what I'm saying, that kind of privilege versus the privilege from the attention I get of being fit is different.
Yeah.
But
see, okay, so let me say this. I think that this is what happens on Twitter, is that, you know, you get one thing, you get one simple, you get that one simple like statement
tweet, yes.
It just goes into a bunch of different directions.
Yeah.
And fit privilege means one thing to somebody, whereas it means, you know, being able to go to the gym and stuff. And yeah, not everybody is privileged enough to be able to afford a gym membership.
Yeah.
But then you can also make the effort to be fit on your own. You don't necessarily need everything in the gym.
Yeah. And I think it's important too to note that like fit is supposed to be healthy. It's not supposed to be, you know, the muscles and stuff that we glorify or that are typically shown. Like all these gym bodies, that doesn't mean fit, because as we've seen, they have a lot of mental issues or body dysmorphia or different things like that. So it's like the package might be nice, but they're still struggling in other ways as well. So
yeah. I think that was an element that was missing in the conversation as well. It's like, what is fit? Because I guess I could technically be fit, but I don't think that I benefit from what they were. I think I benefit from some kind of a fit privilege from just, you know, my body size, but I don't think I'm benefiting from Instagram fit privilege, if you know what I'm saying. I think that that's what a lot of people were talking about. So any thoughts on this, Marcus? Before we
you're over there thinking hard.
You're very
because I'm trying to piece together, because when you sent it, I kind of skimmed through. I had seen a couple of tweets before, but I'm trying to piece together because a lot of this sounds like kind of like cherry picking from other conversations, from other, you know, levels of privilege. Like you brought up pretty privilege, the desirability politics, and then talking about you don't have the time or the money to go to a gym, you know, that's classism. So it's like, it sounds a lot like it's cherry picking stuff from other things and wrapping up in this sort of like fit package, which, like you just said, Jarrod, like even that, what does that mean? And I guess what I'm thinking so hard on is trying to figure out, okay, what is this doing? Like, because everything that people are saying, like, oh, well, fit privilege really fits under umbrellas that people are already talking about. You know, there are already things that, you know, we have words for. So I'm like, why is this like a new thing that's coming up? But I don't know. Who know? You know, I don't know why this particular thing started off. Maybe did come from something valid, but I'm just like, we already kind of have this, so why is it
I mean,
something?
well,
Yeah.
but
I mean, I
but
think
Twitter is the place for conflating topics and lacking the nuance to discuss them. So I
exactly.
mean,
Well,
But that's why we have this show, because we're able, we're able to talk about it and dig in a little bit deeper. So speaking of,
speaking of
we have
digging,
another.
right?
Oh Lord, yeah.
that was a good one. That was a
Right.
good one.
If you weren't gonna make it, I was going to.
We're going to talk about fleeting before sex.
Call his name.
So if you don't know what that is, and I'm just a little nervous because I feel like my aunt said that she watched the show. So
We're all adults.
please
We can
go.
just explain it.
Please go. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. So basically, fleeting is I guess it's kind of like a slang term for douching or anal douching, for specifically for gay men, for cleaning out the anal cavity before you have sex. So that's what that is. Somebody tweeted today something like "never fleeted, never painted." I'm not going to explain what painting is. That's something you're going to have to Google by yourself.
No, you actually probably should not. You actually probably should not.
I think you have to, because it's important for the context of the conversation. So painting is if you have a mistake. if you get in the anal cavity with your penis or toy, but then the things that typically leave the anal cavity leave during the sexual act.
Yes. Well, thank you for that eloquent definition. So, okay, so here's the question, because a lot of people had reactions to this on both sides. It was, is it necessary to fleet every time?
No. But I will say again, because I saw the two sides of the argument, defending it and against it. But some people that were against it, they were saying even if you do just poop or whatever, you still should do a light rinse. Is what kind of was their thing, was at least you should do that. I think I still would say no, just because sometimes you get lucky. Sometimes, not all penises are created equal, so they don't all require the same amount of preparation.
Well, well, there's that. There's that.
Marcus, what are your thoughts on doing? Or do you do it? Not do you do it, but maybe I'll ask that question in a minute. I don't know.
Oh no.
Is that something that should be done every time? Well, every time before having sex.
So I'm going to approach this with this grain of salt, not necessarily my area of expertise. I'll say that, but I will say that from what I have read and what I have me talking with people beforehand, like, it's not a necessity. It's a thing where it's just like, you got to know you. Like, you got to know your body and be like, okay, I know how far I have to go. I know if I need to today, or I know if I don't, or whatever, what have you. So necessity, nah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of, my thing is, it's just very, based on the research that I've done for myself, it's like, it just seems a little bit unhealthy to do it every time, because there are a lot of medical issues that come into play if you decide to continuously clean that area out. I mean, at least specifically fleeting. Go ahead, Brandon.
No, but that's my thing too, because I've seen that, and so I'm wondering though if that is just from using the solution that's in there, or if it's just from water as well. I've never seen anything to like differentiate between the two.
The article that I went back to the article that I read, it seemed, I don't know. I think it might be both. The article is not very clear, because it's like they talk about a certain they talk about the saline solution, and then in the next paragraph they're saying, but if you do it every time, but then it's like, well, what it are you talking about? You know, so it was a little confusing for me there. It seemed to me as though, you know, cleaning it out, even if it's just water or whatever, because apparently the saline solution is just water with like salt or something like that, or you could make that at home or something like that. But yeah, I believe that it's not. I don't think that it's healthy to do regularly. And so that's why I think the best thing to do, I mean, and basically this article went on talking to doctors, best thing to do is to have a high fiber diet, use fiber pills if you need to, clean it out, and, you know, just know that if something happens, then, you know, shit happens.
Literally. But yeah, I think that's the thing too. I thought that was the point of why there's these, you know, fiber pills, the pure ferment, all those things directly targeted towards gay men to like kind of combat the fleeting, because it can be bad prolonged usage or whatever else, was my understanding. So
okay. Yeah. Now I got a comment from one of my good friends who is all about the medical. Hold on, let me see if I can bring it back up. Okay, here we go. So from water as well, it's still removing healthy bacteria that needs to be there. It changes your pH. So yeah. So you just got to be careful. And I feel like, you know, if it's you had a special occasion, you know, go for it. But
I also think too, it's unrealistic to fleet every time anyway. Because what if you're like when you're in a relationship? Think like literally, you know, is that I get that for the most part there's a lack of spontaneity because of how gay men have to have sex. But I don't think there should be a complete lack of spontaneity. You know what I'm saying? Like you cannot literally plan out like, okay, so we're gonna have sex like Tuesday night, like 9, you be ready, like, you know what I'm saying? And then we're gonna get it again Friday night, you know, I don't think that's not realistic for most people. Right. So like if it's a hookup or something, then that makes sense because it's like, okay, I'm planning to, you know, do this or whatever, but not. I don't know.
Not every time. And it's just so funny because a lot of people, I just feel like there's a lot of misinformation out there, or a lot of people who will automatically judge somebody for saying that they don't do it every time. And I don't know. I just don't know if they know of all the health issues like constipation and all the other stuff.
And I think. Well, you want to go or?
Yeah, I was gonna say. Well, I think that comes from folks just frankly just not knowing nothing about sex in general, because it goes like across the board. You know, I've taught students, grown college kids who still think that if a woman has sex too many times, that her vagina is gonna be loose. So I think it's just like folks just don't know much about sex anyway, and I think that's you know, we don't have sex ed, and especially not for us. So folks they have this mindset, they have this set up in their mind. Oh, if you don't go clean, if you don't go clean out, you know, shit will happen, and that's not necessarily the truth.
Yeah. I think also too, it is that whole like I know my body thing. I think a lot of those people are lying. Well, not a lot. I think well, I'll say a lot because a lot doesn't necessarily mean a majority. I think a lot of people, when they say they know their body, they don't. And of course, you know, accidents do and will happen given what is going on. But I mean, if you don't know, you don't know. So let's just be honest. Like if you know you eat, you know what I'm saying, all this like crazy stuff, that's not a high fiber diet. Like, so let's not.
Right. Now, I think the last thing that I wanted to bring up was there was a point that somebody had made that, you know, that having a high fiber diet doesn't clean out the smell or other particles that may be lingering.
Which I think some people said do like a light rinse. I've never heard of that, but okay.
Yeah. But they were making the argument for doing it like douching all the time. And, you know, and I just think like that goes into the whole conversation of eating out. So I mean, it's like
eating out at restaurants. Let me confirm.
Yes, it is a restaurant.
That what you meant?
Yes, it is a restaurant, most definitely.
Kind of, sort of. I guess we'll go with that. But yeah. So yeah, if somebody's going to put their face in it, then maybe you should do. I don't know. All right, so I think we've talked this to death. Okay. I feel like I need a fleet for my brain after that.
Oh no.
Right.
All right, so we're gonna move into Greenleaf. I'm not gonna talk too much about every story beat. I think I just want to talk about what's most relevant in the story.
Okay.
So first, let's talk about Jacob. He's trying to uncover the roots of the family drama. And I just want to know what you guys think about this storyline, where we're going with this storyline. I know he was riding around with Tasha Skanks, and now they're kind of rekindling a little bit of something. What do you guys think? Let's go with you, Marcus. Let's start with you first.
I tweeted it, and I am going to stand firm to this until I'm proven wrong. Basie and or Latoya Luckett is coming back sometime in this season. And it's just because they're just gonna have to throw that last wrench into Jake. Like something's gonna have to happen. And then I feel like Tasha knows more than she's letting on because of how she was looking at the other sister who actually forgot existed.
Same.
How she was looking at her while they were conversing with Jacob. It was like something ain't right. Something's going on here. So it's definitely more bumps in the road coming down the line for Jacob and I guess Tasha's relationship.
Brandon.
Yeah, I don't trust that Basie is dead, but I'm that way of like on TV in general. I gotta see them die. But even then, it's a soap opera, so you never know. So I just don't like because Basie's been shady the whole time he's been on the show. So I'm with you. I feel like we're gonna see him again. Latoya was like uber shady, her character, so ain't no telling.
Now, question: do we remember what happened like to them? Because I just vaguely remember. I feel like it was Latoya Luckett and Basie getting into a car and driving off.
I think they're in hiding because of. I can't remember whatever shady thing they were doing, but I think they're in hiding because of it. Because they did mention that. I think Tasha was like, Rochelle probably made it to Mexico or something like that. I think.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know what happened.
I need to go back.
I looked up a recap, and it said something about and I didn't necessarily hear this in the show itself, but I heard Basie was found dead in like some apartment or something. I don't know if you guys caught that.
Yeah, she said he was found dead somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But that's all I have for that storyline. I mean, I think that's gonna be the main through line for this season. But they're taking their time.
Right, and so real quick though, I'm trying to make sure I'm following. So it's like, what they're trying to say is that Bishop killed or set up to have Basie's father killed so that they could get the house that's supposed to be left to him, to Basie's dad.
Wasn't it the church though? Weren't they trying to get the church?
I feel like the church was at first, but I think this season I feel like they've introduced the house thing. It's something else, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, because they like when they first introduced Basie, like that was a thing. Like your daddy killed my daddy. Like that was his whole like thing. I do remember something with the church, but it's possible that the two are. I mean, it makes sense, that the two are connected in some sort of way. Honestly, I feel like it was more so with the land that the church was on than the church itself. But
maybe
all of that is kind of a blur, so I could be wrong.
Right. I feel like Mac is behind this whole thing, and we ain't.
Oh yeah, he did everything
because he dead. Like,
my thing is, I feel like where this is going to end up is Jacob's going to find everything out. His father's going to remember whatever it is and tell him in confidence, and then he's going to like forget it when it comes time to tell the authorities or whoever, and he's going to be left off the hook or whatever because he has. I think that's what's going to happen.
Yes, probably.
So you think when he said nothing happened this week, he just didn't remember?
I think that for sure.
I think. Well, did he say nothing happened? Did he say nothing happened?
Well, he said he wasn't involved. I think is the way he kind of worded it or something.
Okay.
Yeah, because Jacob asked him, "Is like, did you make the call?" And he was like, "No." He said he said something that led me down the path to be like, oh, he maybe just don't remember.
Right. Okay. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens there.
Lord.
But I just had one question for you guys regarding another character. Who is more annoying, Judy or Charity?
Judy.
Charity.
Really?
Yes.
Why is that? Why does she take the cake over Judy for you?
Judy, I think to me is supposed to be annoying because she's like one of the villains. I think Charity's supposed to be like part of the hero family that we root for. But I have not rooted for Charity since like season 1. Like it has been a long time. Like she gets on my nerves, and she's so corny. I'm like, girl, shut up.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're both pretty annoying. I find Judy was being like extra this past episode, so I'm like, I'm over her.
Yeah. So I couldn't help. I couldn't help but root for Charity when she put Judy in her place because no.
Now I want to know now who's more annoying, Sophia or Charity? Is your name Sophia or?
Sophia.
I would say Sophia.
Really?
Yeah, I feel like it's Sophia because this is gonna sound bad, but I really feel like this entire like storyline thing that she's involved in right now is completely of her own creation. I was like, you did this, and in comparison to Charity, to where I can kind of feel a little bit sorry for her because she at least did, like love that man. Like, you did all this yourself because you had a situation going in.
That part.
Yeah. So she was there. I see some people saying, Sophia is worse, which is
she got beat up.
A good sis told her, said, please do not pick fighting because you do not have the hands for it.
That part.
That was funny. So now we're going into AJ. So I think I predicted it. That he is indeed HIV positive. It was the result of him being raped while in prison. So how do we feel about this storyline and the way it was revealed?
I was completely thrown. I wasn't expecting them to say that. And I saw a few tweets from people. They were like, they were disappointed as well that they chose to do that kind of a storyline. They were like, you could have maybe told his HIV story in a different way. Like they made it such a huge, I guess, plot point or twist versus just presenting it as is. And so that kind of threw me. I was like, because to me, I think because we should be kind of removing that stigma. It wasn't a huge twist to me, and maybe the way they felt like it should have been.
Mm-hmm. I agree pretty much wholeheartedly. Like I said last week when you brought it up, Jarrod, that it was like, okay, if that is where they're going, I'm going to be a little bit upset. And I am a little bit upset because like, especially the way they played it out in the episode, like it was just the worst thing ever. Like, Sophia came out there, she was just like stun-faced. Oh, he told his mama and she just like started bawling. And it's just like, that's it? Like the way that they build it up just made it seem like it was just going to be the worst thing ever. I think that the way they built it up and then revealing that it was him having HIV just kind of makes it seem like, like, oh, having HIV is just the worst thing ever. Like you're going to die.
Yeah. Okay. Now see,
like
I didn't necessarily take it that way. I thought that all of the emotion came from saying that he was raped. Because naturally, I think that would be a natural reaction to hearing that a loved one has been violated like that. Do you think that, would that change? Because I feel like if it was just HIV, all of the emotional theatrics wouldn't necessarily fit. But I think when you talk about him kind of going through this in prison, I think that may call for some of the emotion that we saw.
I feel like I would agree with you that, that him being assaulted would, elicit maybe that type of reaction. But I feel like they highlighted HIV because isn't that the first thing that he said?
Yeah, it is the first thing he said.
So.
Because I feel like, go ahead.
No, you can go. Yeah, you can go.
I was gonna say I feel like they were highlighting the HIV aspect, and then like him being assaulted, which is kind of like the afterthought. Like it was just the this is why kind of thing. Because it was honestly like it was almost kind of like thrown in there like right before the episode ended, that he had got like assaulted in jail. So I feel like he wanted us to have more of that reaction to him being HIV positive. Now I could be wrong. You know, clearly I have been wrong before, but I feel like that's what they wanted us to have that reaction to.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I could see that now. And I guess yeah, I do agree that it was that the HIV positive was the thing that they wanted to reveal. It wasn't rape. So yeah. And I wonder what they're gonna do with that moving forward, or was it just something that they dropped just for us to say ooh, and then they're not going to talk about it anymore? You know,
that's what I'm thinking, because I'm like, AJ's been a problem. We know he's been a problem. Okay, cool. Like we know he did the crime, but he got away with that. But it's like, I'm thinking now, because I'm like, okay, we felt like he maybe did the suicide attempt because he felt guilty, but now then it's this reveal. So I'm like you said, where are we going with this? Because it's not connected for me yet.
And we still don't know about the his lookalike.
Right. That was the next thing I was going to ask.
They came to the grave. Like, did that really happen? That's about where I'm at. Like,
if they tell me that was a dream sequence, I'm gonna have a talk with Oprah.
Good luck.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to talk.
That's so weird, because I'm like, they can't just drop him, can they? I mean, like, would that be? Because I feel like they ended the season with this random guy showing up, and that was such a big thing. And then for them to just write him out of the story in like 2 episodes, it just seems
right. So that has to do something then to AJ. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, but what is that? Like, what is the? So were they lovers? Was he one of the guys? I need to know.
No, it really does, because his AJ suicide attempt came after Buddy was dead. So the logical thing would be to say that has something to do with it. So are we going to say this is a Stockholm syndrome and type deal, and this is the person who assaulted him, and he felt like what's going on? What are we doing?
Or is he the person who helped him out after that? Was he his cellmate? You know what I'm saying? Kind of like nursed him back. I need to know.
Right.
I need to know, and I need to know like preferably next week.
Right, I know. We need a little bit of movement in some of these stories, right? We need some,
and a lot of them, to be honest. Kind of like we slowly trucking.
Right. But you know, they do that in this series. They always start off a little slow, and then it progressively gets faster and faster. I do say that they have a good pace if you kind of stick with it. So, all right. So let's move into our red table talk.
What's in the short word for a talk? Because it wasn't quite a talk. It was a monologue. I don't know.
It was a statement.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't a full conversation. It wasn't like
got their press release.
Yeah, basically. So just to sum it up, Jada Pinkett Smith sat down with her husband Will Smith on her show Red Table Talk to address the much talked about relationship with August Alsina. I think I just want to start off with reactions to the Red Table Talk, that episode overall.
Real quick, I do want to add, I guess before we start, they did at least both say flat out that they had never spoken to press prior to the Red Table Talk. So whatever the statements that came out before this were not them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you want to start? You want me to start? What do you want to do?
Well, you already talking, so go ahead.
Okay. I am surprised that she admitted there was a relationship. I did not think we were going to get that, especially after the statements that came prior to, and then found out they were false, but still that the statements were false. But she admitted that. I wasn't expecting that. I think that they were transparent to a point. I could tell there was a lot that they were not sharing, and they don't have to, but it's like, okay, you've opened the door to give us information or to make it seem like you are having an open, honest conversation. You should be fully open and honest. I think that she kind of somebody tweeted that she kind of let herself off the hook, and I agree with that. I think that she kind of tried to downplay things, and it is one thing to downplay, I guess, an affair or relationship with someone who is of I feel like there was a power dynamic that was there. If she like took August in to help him out, he's sick, physically, he has a drug issue. I think there's some mental issues there. He, is friends with your children. There's a huge age gap. You were just trying to get over your ex. I think there's a lot that was blurred and muddy that she didn't clear up, for me personally, that she kind of like glossed over.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Marcus, what are your thoughts to the talk?
Well, like I said, the first time that we talked about this, my main interest, or the thing that sort of made me even pay attention to this in the first place, was thinking about, so like a lot of these power dynamics that are at play. The question of, did she take advantage of him, for herself? And in a way, I feel like she admitted that she did, because she had the whole part of the conversation that was about this need to fix people, this need, to help people, and so on and so forth. So I feel like she kind of used him to fill that need, and it turned into a sexual thing, a full-blown kind of relationship. I'm a little bit interested on how this came to be. I'm a little bit interested because that, for me, that's going to kind of cement, like, okay, is this just something that happened, or did you like intentionally do this with the hopes of getting with him? Like, one of my biggest questions is, how did August get to the point where he said, I'm gonna come to Will and Jada for help?
I feel like I think he was friends with one of the kids or something. Was my understanding. He was, I guess, Jaden's friend or something.
But even then, it's like, I'm thinking about my friends. Like, I would just automatically just go to their parents for aid for something. So how did it go from I'm friends with your kids to you're counseling me in life? And I guess that's what I'm a little bit muddy on, because I feel like if she initiated it, yeah, she got some more talking to do, because you kind of took advantage of the situation, because you brought him in to help him and you end up sleeping with him. If he initiated it, it still kind of put pain in a bad light, but at the very least, maybe you can kind of make the argument that maybe she didn't have an ulterior motive from the jump. So for me, it like you said, it clarifies some stuff, but it still leaves me with some questions, and probably questions we're not going to get answers to.
Yeah, I feel like I could see her just from watching the talk and listen to her, not this one specifically, but like the show in general. I feel like she probably initiated the helping, and again, which is what makes it awkward to me, because I feel like it was probably like a mentor role or a healer role, whatever it was. I feel like she probably initiated that, because older people tend to be like, okay, I can tell you going through a lot. Let me like advise you to do whatever else. Cool.
Yeah.
And I can see though him too, probably, because we hear this all the time, like patients sometimes project onto the therapist and like become attracted, whatever. So I can see him trying to initiate something, but to me, that's what she should have been like, no.
Yeah.
Given everything else.
Yeah. I mean, I think what I come away with is that relationships are messy, and that you may start out in one way, but feelings get involved. I don't necessarily know if I can say Jada like tried to like clutch onto him and tried to like make him, her puppet or anything like that, or you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I just feel like this is an instance where two people just were feeling things. Maybe they were a little bit codependent, because she needed some help on some things and he needed some help on something else, and it was just it just kind of happened that way. I don't think it's, I don't know. I don't know if I would necessarily say that it was a predatory thing, because that's what we talk about when we talk about taking advantage. We kind of, if we don't clarify that, we automatically go to this was like a predatory kind of thing. Maybe she took advantage of the situation, but I don't think it was necessarily, one of those, let me just do it. Let me just,
I don't think anything she did was like malicious. I definitely think there was like bad judgment.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay,
I can see that.
I got
And it
that. No.
too, it was weird to me. It stuck out that like she seemed to like try to really distance herself from this, make sense like this was all these years ago. But it was like he himself was just on your Red Table Talk 2 years ago, like literally 2 years ago to the date.
Mm.
So
That, yeah, because when she said that, I was like, wait, but I remember watching the episode with him on there. And
that part,
come up and say, like, oh, this is just 2 years ago. And I'm like,
because that was my first. I had to go Google. I was like, when? How long has Red Table Talk been on?
Listen, because I was like, this show ain't that old.
Because she said kept saying like emphasis on the 4 or 5 years ago, and it's like, okay, that's when y'all met. When did y'all stop? But even from the beginning, she kept saying like entanglement, and we was like, no, ma'am, what does that mean?
Right.
Yes, because like I think you said, Brandon, that Jada finally admitted to her relationship, and I wanted to be like, well, she didn't. We'll have to make her say. um, and in saying Will, that's actually another thing that's been really interesting in a lot of this conversation around it. Is I feel like there are a lot of people who are projecting into this thing because I've seen so many people to be like, oh, look at Will's eyes. He's so hurt. Oh, she cheated on him. I told you she was for the streets. If I was Will, I'd have flipped that table over, blase, blase, blase. And I think whatever, sort of feelings or thoughts that we have about, what Jada and August did, I think that him and Will and Jada's relationship is a completely different sort of like beast animal, like kind of outside of that, because it's clear that they have a level. I mean, we already knew that they weren't, I guess, quote unquote, the typical folk from with Jaden and Willow. But I think we're seeing more and more that they have a level of kind of respect and just maybe just friendship with each other that is really hard for a lot of us to kind of grasp. Because the fact that they can sit there and talk about, yeah, we broke up. I wanted, like, he wasn't making me happy, so I was gonna find that. And like, they're still staying in the same house. Like, they still, are walking, talking to each other hand in hand, more or less. I think that's another thing that really is kind of coming from this, that we're seeing just like what partnership looks like. I think it's different from how a lot of us look at marriage. But that's,
Yeah, I hear you. Let me ask you this: like, would you? Because I know last week we were talking about spearheading this conversation about being in open relationships. Now, would you consider this, after listening to what she had to say, would you consider this an open relationship?
No. I think they tried to make it clear they were separated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So granted, they weren't divorced, but people every day are separated and date. So a lot of people don't necessarily wait for the ink to dry and everything else. So that didn't necessarily stick out to me. So that's why it was so weird too when, like you're saying, all these like talks of like Will looks so hurt, and I'm like, they weren't together in their eyes, in either one of their eyes. So she didn't do anything wrong to Will. I might personally her crazy for everything about her in August specifically. But
Gotcha.
Yeah, he looked more so like, I'm mad we got to talk about this to all these people.
Exactly.
But not, I'm mad about what you did.
Like the only thing that I felt like any sort of like rise in emotion come out from Will when he was like, no, it was a relationship. Like that was the only thing, because like you said,
you call me out my room, tell the truth.
Exactly. If we're gonna have to talk about this, we have to talk about this.
And I think it's a good thing that he was there, because had he not been there, it would have been this.
She would have never said relationship.
Nope. And we'd have been trying to figure out what the hell of an entanglement is.
Right. So yeah, I mean, I think my thoughts are, well, not I think my thoughts. Let me scratch that. My thoughts on this are that it's definitely a story about, just kind of growing and healing. And it's an example of what you have to go through if having a life partner is important to you. I think it's an extreme example, but it's one of those things, like they said in the talk, that, love it. If you're going to be in a relationship, if you're going to love somebody, it's going to be forged in fire or something like that. It's what they said. So you're going to have to go through some things. And yeah, so I appreciate that they were open about it. And I think Will and Jada, to me, seemed like an example of a solid partnership. But there were some other reactions outside of, like, after this had aired. So firstly, we can talk, like, I don't know if you guys saw the tweet by 50 Cent where he was.
I didn't see his tweet, but I saw his Instagram post where he did the screenshot of the text messages.
Yeah. It was that basically. He screenshotted the text messages. I saw it on Twitter. That's why I said that. But yeah.
Wait, what was said?
I'm gonna see if it's still up. Because I was like, I saw it on Twitter too, but then I had to go look. I was like, because people will make some stuff up. So I said, let me go look at his actual page. Dang it, he took it down. Hold on. Let me see.
Something like, well, yeah.
He pretty much was like texting Will, like pretty much saying like, "Are you okay?" And then he was his annoying 50 Cent self, and Will was pretty much like, "Dude, leave me alone."
He was almost kind of clowning Will for allowing Jada to say that, only I can control, who has access to me or something like that.
Oh yeah, because they did deny the whole permission thing, whatever. She was like, I am the only one who give anybody permission. Yeah.
Right. Which is actually the truth, but so.
I think 50 Cent just a miserable human being anyway, so
yeah, he's very catty. I mean, like,
yeah.
if he was one of the girls, I'd be like, I would be like, yeah.
He'd be drama.
Right. And then there was.
Wait. What's on your mind?
Nothing's on my mind. Go ahead.
The face says it all.
Nothing. Go ahead.
Oh my gosh, Brandon. Okay.
I already know.
We're gonna let that slide.
You know.
There was this whole thing between Keke Palmer and August Alsina, where Keke was like, he was never my man or whatever. Somebody tried to get her on Twitter, and then she was like, yeah, he was never my man, and leave it alone.
But it was like
August
in a friendly like way.
Yeah, and then but August came back with a very aggressive kind of like, yeah, that's right, you can never possibly, get with me or something like that, and seems like you're mad you got curved, and it was just a weird exchange.
He was mad.
Misplaced anger for sure.
Yes. Yeah. He was just mad, then just took it out on the first person you could see, and he wasn't he wasn't ready for the clapback that folks came with on behalf of Keke, because Keke
right. That part, because that was also weird to me too, because I felt like I saw a lot more people like sympathizing or empathizing whatever with him, but then it wasn't long before Keke made her post and then he made his, so that turned real quick. But it started out there, so like people were kind of on his side more. Then I was like, okay, well now we're gonna all get these jokes off. So I was like,
right. So the last thing that I wanted to bring up was I thought like a lot of people had a weird reaction to Will and Jada's like bad marriage for life thing, and I was just like, okay, it was just one of those like funny haha moments, but a lot of people seem to take it like, oh, can't.
I think they took it literally. It was definitely a bad joke that didn't land for me, but I took it as a joke.
Yeah,
like it was very clear what they were referencing. Like I don't get why people took that as like, oh, they're celebrating their bad marriage. No, it was very clearly they were referencing Bad Boys.
Right. So I don't know. People are always going to take things however they're going to take it. But it's interesting to, I guess this will be the end of the entanglement saga, as I'll call it.
You never know.
Is it?
At least for now. To be continued?
We don't know who's going to speak up next. I don't know.
Right.
Oh, God.
She may be on the other foot.
Everybody's thinking, Will did some stuff during this time. Who knows if he did
or
did
over the course of their marriage, people have said stuff. So yeah.
Right. I think if anything, it didn't sound like Will had a part to play as far as another relationship during this moment, but I do know that people
she kind of alluded to him cheating prior to. Because when he was like, I'm gonna get you back, she was like, you've already done that. He was like, I'm gonna do it again. And now she was like,
no.
He's like, we're even.
He's like, let it go.
Right. All right. Well, that's all I have I don't know if I missed anything. Yes, no, no. Okay.
I think that's pretty much it.
We'll see if
All
somebody
right.
talks
Yeah.
next.
Yeah,
Boom.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. And, we went a little bit over today, but so I thank you guys who stuck with us for watching. If you enjoyed the conversation, please give us some hearts, some likes, some retweets, and some shares, whatever you can do. We need to know that you enjoyed this and that it gives you something if you want us to keep coming back. So until next time, glasses,
Mine is
everyone.
empty, but
Where's
It's a little drops. There's a couple left in here.
Oh,
right,
this is
I get the
sad.
glass
I'm
will
gonna have to come
swig.
back with an actual glass next time. But yeah, until next time, be careful what you say because the boys will brunch. Take care.